ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Wrestling Fluency. I am your host, $1 Million Matt, and I am joined by my podcast tag team partner,
the Alabama Slammer, Brandie.
Woohoo! Alabama Slammer in the house, $1 Million Matt. We are back.
We are
Ooh.
back, baby.
Yep, who would have ever thought we'd be back?
I don't think we've had an episode for like a year.
Yeah, how about it? It just seems like, I don't know, just kind of getting back in the swing of things a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as our listeners probably know, some of us, I was going through it last year. I was having a not good time.
Yeah, from what I was seeing, especially what you post on Facebook, I was like, ooh, that stings, that hurts.
Oh my gosh. This past year, 2024. So in 2023, I was like, 2024 is the year I'm going to focus on my mental health, my physical health. I'm going to get my finances in order. We're going to do this thing with the fucking podcast. It's 2024 is that bitch for me. And then 2024 started off with, hey, you've lost your job. And I was like, oh, okay. So just fuck me. Okay.
Yeah. No lube, no condom, not even an offer to take you to dinner.
She went in dry.
Yeah. I was like, good God, life, at least offer to take her to dinner or something. Even if it's Chick-fil-A, my God.
Can't even get the Jesus chicken out of this ordeal.
Yeah, how about
it? My gosh. Well, I'll get more into the craziness that was this year for me and things have been going on. But what about you, Matt? Why don't you tell us a little bit about how 2024 has been for the $1 Million Matt?
So 2024 has been mostly positive for the most part. I mean, I took my L's here and there. We'll just keep it at that. But one of my biggest W's is that I went to WrestleMania 40 this year.
Ooh.
That happened to be in my home city. Well, not literally my home city. I'm actually 45 minutes away from it. But my home city of Philadelphia. And I went on night 2. And I gotta say, it was cold as a bitch, but damn it, it was worth it.
You know, I had totally forgotten that WrestleMania was cold this year. Now, were both nights cold? I feel like one was colder than the other.
Yeah. Well, I went on night 2, and that one was definitely much colder from what it seemed like. It seemed like night 1 was a little bit warmer, from what I understand and what I read on the temperatures. But yeah, night 2 was cold as a mug, but thank God I was wrapped up pretty well.
Yeah, I remember a lot of conversation around the crowd and like people being like, man, the crowd did the best they could considering they were freaking freezing.
Oh yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, matter of fact, I could imagine with the wrestlers who happened to be half naked at the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I bet they were cold. Like I'm sure they got warmed up when they were running around, but Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Is that WrestleMania? Is that Becky was like sick at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I think she was running a temperature, if I'm not mistaken, from what the commentary was saying. So
that's what I recall is her having like a fever and stuff. And I was like, man, it's just not a good night to be the man.
Yeah, definitely. But shout out to Becky. She pushed through that and had the best match she could with Rhea Ripley at the time.
Yeah. Is that when Rhea won the title? No, Rhea already had it.
Oh yeah, she definitely had it.
Yeah, she had it.
Yeah.
So much has happened. So much has happened in the past year of wrestling.
Oh yeah, a lot has happened. A lot of signings, a lot of storyline stuff, a lot of some comebacks.
Well, what else? What else were you up to this year, Matt?
Well, I went into one of my business ventures, which kind of just made me happy, and kind of made everything make sense. For those that don't know, I actually draw on my off time or when outside of here. I usually draw because it's one of them things that kind of calms me down a little bit. So I've been drawn for the most part. Of course, I work out. Got to keep the body in shape. Got to keep the temple strong.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
You're always every week. I was like, I don't know that I know anyone who works out as consistently as Matt works out.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, Brian, where it's just it's all dedication, and it's kind of been in me where as I've reached. And another bit of news, I turned the big 40 this year. I actually turned the big 40 in June, so I'm trying to keep up with you youngsters here.
You're trying to keep up with trying to keep up with everybody.
Yeah. I'm kind of like at well, although I've been an uncle, I'm basically at the uncle age.
I know. People call people are like, oh, you're an auntie. I'm like, yeah, like I'm a real auntie though. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
an auntie to all you children and to like my actual nieces and nephews.
Yep.
I
Yep.
was like,
Same here.
I'm like, I don't know about y'all, but I've been an auntie since I was 17 years old. I don't
Yep. Yep.
it ain't hurting my feelings none.
Yep. I've been an uncle since I was 7, so I started young.
Oh my gosh, you were a really young uncle. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot about that.
Yeah, and my oldest niece was kind of. I remember her tagging along. She was kind of annoying at the time because she was kind of like a little sister. But as we kind of grew up together, we pretty much just kind of always had each other and stuck around, and we're pretty close at the time for a little bit until we both came into our adulthoods. Now I rarely see her. I think the last time I seen her was one of my nieces actually got married, but then after that I didn't see her at all.
Oh wow. Yeah, well she's a grown woman. She's off doing grown woman things.
Yep, exactly. Yep, it was just one of those things where I was like, all right, Uncle Matt, I guess it's time to let her go. Let her let her
I
let her
understand.
spread her wings and fly.
I understand. One of the girls I consider a niece, she's like turning 18 this year.
Oh my.
And like I met her girlfriend and we've just like chatted and stuff and she's like, "Oh, this is like my aunt." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I've been around. I met you. You were in a car seat and 6 months old when I met you, child."
Yeah, how about it? Oh man. Uh kids in our life are growing up.
I know. And it's reminding if I didn't have the gray hairs on my head to remind me, these children are definitely reminding me. My brother's oldest child, so like my actual niece. I have a lot of niece and nephews that are my friends' children that I've just been in their life their whole life and like everyone has that niece or that like aunt or uncle that's not actually your aunt or uncle, but they're your aunt
Mhm.
or uncle. And I've been that. But so these are my Harp. Oh gosh, sorry.
Oh,
Harper and
all good.
Owen are uh are my actual niece and nephew. They're my brother's children, and Harper is turning 7 next month. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
Did you
that's
say
wild.
7?
Yeah, yeah, that's wild.
I was looking back on videos of her as a baby, and I was like, it just feels like it was
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah, how about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Well,
oh, sorry, I was gonna
oh
say
no, go ahead,
it's
Matt.
it's crazy to think too. I have two 16-year-old nephews, and they're both taller than me.
How tall
I'm
are
just
they?
uh, one is 5'11", and the other one is 6'2".
They
Hey, big boy.
said they said no height genes for you, Uncle Matt. No
Yeah,
height.
yeah. I was like, dang it. I had to be short like my grandfather, who was a great man. So,
I continue, I think, to be one of the taller women in my family,
mm,
other than my stepmom. There's not any of the other ones who are taller than me.
mm.
And I'm just looking at Harper and I'm like, are you coming for the crown? Are you coming? Who knows?
Yep, yep. I stand at 5'8", which is all right because my favorite wrestler Daniel Bryan is 5'8".
Oh, I adore Daniel Bryan. I am 5'8" as well.
Oh wow, we match up in height.
Yeah. Yeah. I was I was telling my dad, I was like, I sometimes get too big for my britches because I'm like I'm tall for a woman, but I am average to on the shorter side for a man. So I'll think like I can reach something and I can't. I'm like, oh, I forget that I am a tall queen, but I am a short king.
Yep, and I think 5'8" happens to be the average height for the average man, if I'm not mistaken, in some
Yeah,
statistics.
it's the national average for the US for men, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's what I kind of figured. So I was like, I was gonna say I'm not too short.
Yeah. So guys, there's no reason to be lying on your dating apps that you're taller than you are because the average height for women is 5'4". So even
Yep,
if you're 5'7" or 5'8", you're fine.
yep, exactly. Yep, and for all my fellow short kings out there, just think about it. Mark Wahlberg is our height. Tom Cruise is our height. So anybody who thinks height doesn't matter, it doesn't. You just gotta have confidence and good sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
Let me
you
tell
need.
you, men who are 5'10" are nervous men because they're like, I'm not quite 6 foot. I don't know what it is. I dated a guy this past year who was 5'10", and I'm 5'8", so okay, fine. You're like 2 inches taller than me, whatever. I wore some sneakers that had platforms, so it brought me up to his like eye level, like I was his height pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh wow, you're like really tall," and I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm also wearing platform sneakers, but
Mm-hmm.
but in general, I'm just pretty tall. And I just thought it was so funny. He's like, I'm 5'10". I was like, yeah, I don't care, but cool.
Yeah.
He's just real concerned about that extra 2 inches my sneakers
Yeah.
gave me.
Yep. Yeah. I think for the most part, I think the last girl I dated was 5'2", I believe, and girl before that, I believe, ballpark. I think she was around like 5'6". So
Mm.
not too bad.
Short kings, go get you a 6 foot tall woman right now.
That you can at least give piggyback rides.
That way you can be the small spoon.
I prefer to be the big spoon. It's more comforting for me.
The last person I went on a date with was 6'4", and I had never
Oh,
dated someone that tall. I was like, oh, this is fucking nice. I get it. I get
ooh,
why I'm so used to dating someone close to my height because I'm relatively tall. I'm the average height for a man. So usually men are like 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" that I date. So dating someone who was 6'4",
right on.
I was like, Jesus Christ, I feel so dainty. I feel like such a lass right now.
Yeah, yeah. How about it? She's a
I know.
lady.
I know. I was like, this is new, a whole new world for me.
A whole new world.
Yeah, but you know what? That's kind of something that we had in common this year that I don't actually. Funny enough, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
we were discussing off air our how our romantic lives have been.
Mm-hmm.
Two of our listeners were in a group with me that was not the Wrestling Fluency group, and I was moping about being dumped last month, and I ran into two of our members in the group I was moping in.
Ew.
And I was like, "Oh, hi guys." They were like, "It's gonna be
Hey,
okay."
hey.
I was like, "Hey, I was just making a joke." But like two of the
Yeah.
members were like, "Hey, you're in Wrestling Fluency." I'm like, "I'm actually Brandie from Wrestling Fluency." And they were like, "Oh." So they were really nice.
Oh, that's
They
good.
were really nice about the whole ordeal.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's always good. Yep. I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
say, but you got a little bit of celebrity stabulous in your group chat.
I do. Look at me glowing
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Getting
But
yeah, I guess it is like a celebrity thing. I'm like, oh
yeah.
my god, I got recognized outside of the group.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my.
Yep. Alabama Slammer becoming about that influencer life, folks.
Oh yeah, and I was just like, oh lord, I better be careful what I be saying in these groups.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything like rude.
Yeah.
Just for our listeners,
Right.
this
Right.
past year has been awfully shitty for me. It started with me losing my job at the beginning. I had like a work from home job that was literally driving me crazy, but I just wasn't willing to let go of it. Um, so I lost that job unexpectedly. The literally days before we had a week long ice storm here in Alabama. So not only
Mm.
not only did I lose my job, I was then iced frozen into my house and it was miserable. And then you couldn't like for a week I couldn't it took like I had to wait a week before I could even go and start doing everything I needed to do. They wouldn't, it would, like, the state of Alabama literally sucks so hard, period. But especially when it comes to unemployment, like, I could never get my unemployment shit together. I found another job before I could even get unemployment benefits. And
That's a
oh my
plus.
God, it was such a bad job. I didn't want the job. I had posted in some local things being like, hey, here's my experience. I'm looking for a job. And this woman contacted me and she wanted me to come work the front desk at this hotel, which was not a very good hotel, just so you know. Okay.
Mm.
It's not a bad hotel, but it ain't the Holiday Inn. Okay. It's not the Marriott.
Oh, right
And I was
on.
like, I really don't want to work in hospitality again because I've worked in hospitality before and it was fucking awful.
Mm.
It was awful. I worked in hospitality a year and a half and it was the worst, one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life. It may actually be the worst job I ever had in my life.
Oh, oh yeah, I won't
And
doubt it. And I'm sure you dealt with a laundry list of people on all walks of life.
oh my gosh. Well, and the management staff was sometimes when you work for small businesses, the owners do not know how to run their business at all. And there's like literally one manager that knows how to run everything, right?
Mm.
And so you have to constantly bother this one manager. And of her own admission, she was not a good trainer. So that job was miserable. I hated it. And she wound up firing me too. She
Mm.
wound up firing me via text message, just being like, yeah, don't come in. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay. And here's something I have found interesting. She was one of those who like talked a lot of shit about like how tough she was
Oh.
and like how she would cuss anyone out and she would chew anyone out and she would this or she would that. And that woman would not even look me in the eye when I went in to get my check. She
Mm.
wouldn't say anything. She fired me via text. I was like,
Mm.
girl.
Damn, not even a good morning and kiss my ass or none of that
Yeah.
bullshit.
She got mad at me because she wanted me to kick some people out because of something that we actually did wrong, something that I did wrong that I didn't know I was doing wrong because she only trained me like a handful of times and then just started leaving me by myself on
Mm.
random shifts. And when I would mess something up, instead of like telling me, hey, you messed this up, this is how you do it correctly, she would just fix it. And I'm like, bitch, you can't,
Okay.
whatever, it's neither here nor there. Got fired from that job. Fuck that job. Got hired
Yeah.
at the hospital. Physically could not do that job. That job, I was a desk worker, okay, for like 7 years. To go from being a desk worker to all of a sudden working a job that you worked from literally 6 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. at night and you walked 10 miles a day.
Oh
I couldn't
God.
do it. I was in so much pain. So I left there because I got a job at, of all places, McDonald's. I have
Mm.
been that bitch though that I'm like, if I ever get fired for a job, I'm walking straight out, getting in my car, going home and putting in an app at McDonald's because I am not too good to work anywhere. Okay.
All right.
I got bills to pay. I
Yep.
got mouths to feed.
Yep. Exactly.
I'll work anywhere. And I wound up working there a couple of months and like reconnecting with someone I used to work with. So it wound up being enjoyable. But God, man, I really hated working in fast food again. And
I'm sure.
finally, the job that I'm at now, which is back similar to another dispatching job that I had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it. I've been in it since June. I'm nice and settled in it. I'm like
Mm.
comfortable with the shift and I'm still learning stuff every day, but I'm finally in a stable job and that's why we can finally bring wrestling fluency back.
Finally. Yeah.
Finally. So all of that was happening and for some reason in my like great intelligence, once things got things got settled with with my job, I was like, I'm gonna try to start dating again. And Matt, you tried dating this past year too. Do you want to tell them your story before I launch into my story?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go into my story a bit with kind of like my dating life and what's been going on and all that. So I kind of figured I've been putting myself out there lately, and I've been going to some of these events, which are basically mixers for singles around my area, just like around the Philadelphia Tri-County area, even New Jersey. They'll have events. But anyway, I go to one of the events and I meet a woman there, and I thought the conversation went great. I thought we kind of connected on all different kinds of levels, and I didn't mess around. Put on the $1 million Matt Riz, got her number. Next thing you know, I text her to kind of set up a date, and I end up getting a rejection text, which, gotta say, really is a kick in the teeth for your boy $1 million Matt. Which it sucked, but at least I will say at the time she was honest. But it really did suck at the time. But after that, I kind of just went back to my own thing and just kept things going. And also another instance, I met up with, well, matched with a girl. Didn't meet up. We matched on a dating app, and again, I thought conversation went pretty well. I didn't waste any time. I didn't mess around. I got the number, and we would text back and forth. And I go to set up a date, and I go to set up a gym date because we went to the same gym. That's a common interest. So I texted her the morning of to see if we were still on for the date. And guess what, folks? Crickets. Nothing. But
Trifling.
Yep.
Just trifling.
Yep, exactly. But I was all right. I took my L. I got back up. I said, that's all right. I'm going to get my workout in. And I even took myself out. I took myself out to lunch, and I still had a good day. So, yep, ladies, $1 million Matt's still single if you're out there listening.
I admire so much that you just took yourself out to lunch. You just bounced back so well. Okay, look. This, first of all, I did, in my infinite wisdom in like August, I was like, I'm gonna start dating again. I'm ready. And I started seeing this one guy, and it was just he was so fucking weird. And like, I was really trying to just be like, no, he's just like quirky. No, he was just fucking weird. Like, he would say things. On the first time we hung out, he talked about getting a colonoscopy.
Oh, that's an interesting first topic for
no, let me tell. Oh no, go if you but knew Matt. Like, literally, I was meeting him at his place after he got off work to hang out, and he was like, I was already downtown, but I was just chilling. Like, I got a boba tea. I was just chilling downtown.
Nice.
And he was like, oh, you can come on over. Just literally says, forgive if the apartment smells. I've been holding that in at work all day. And I'm like,
what
the actual fuck? Look, we all poop, okay? We all know that we all poop, okay? But like, my brother, why are you telling me this? This is literally the most unsexy thing that you could say.
Yeah,
this is a first date. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's an overshare. My God, if you're going to do that, at least get some Febreze and spray around.
Oh,
mask it, my God.
This story is so wild. I didn't tell it to you because I want your reaction to be the same as those listeners. So
if you can see the look on my face right now, thank God we don't have cameras on. I'm having my what the actual fuck look on my face right now.
I know this is a wrestling fluency podcast, but these stories are too funny. We have to tell them.
Yeah.
And it is a catching up with us thing.
Oh yeah.
So I go to this person's house, and I am just like scared of him. His energy is really wild.
Ooh.
Like, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm very just scared of this guy. Like, I'm really nervous. I mean, I haven't dated in a long ass time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm already and then like being a woman meeting a man is scary enough, but his energy was just like really,
Yeah.
really.
It's almost like learning to ride a bicycle again. Just like it's scary
Yeah,
at first until you find your balance.
it was really frenetic. And he was like, "Do you want a drink?" And I was like, "Okay." And he made this big show of showing me that he wasn't putting anything in the drink and that like the cup was not. And I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
this guy, this guy's making this big show of like being like, see, I'm not date raping you."
oh my god! It's like you're literally making this awkward by
I was just
these
like, "How?"
actions.
Yes, I was like, "How is the opening line about like taking a shit in your apartment may stink?" And now you're doing this. And then at one point when we're sitting down having drinks, he starts talking about like how he's a hypochondriac.
What?
Yes, that he's a hypochondriac and he gets a colonoscopy like 2 times a year. And I'm like,
Brand, you should see my reaction when you said hypochondriac. Just like I raised my head up and kind of like a shit, like a
yeah.
quick like shake, like what?
Yeah, like I talked to him for like a good month before we decided to like meet and hang out. And there were
Right.
things that he would say that I thought he was just being funny. Like I thought he just had like a real quirky sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I love someone with an off the wall, wild, quirky sense of humor.
Right. Right.
So I thought these were just jokes. And I was like, this was not a joke.
Yeah.
No, not a joke at all. That's
Yeah.
how that
Yeah.
man really thinks.
Yeah. This bro is like completely out of pocket.
So we have the date, whatever. And the next day I'm at home and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I don't want to be around this dude. I left and I remember texting my friend, like, I think this man's going to stalk me. I'm scared of him. Like, I like regret going. I'm really scared of him, actually. And she had given me a THC Delta 8 gummy.
Ooh.
And I was like home alone. It was going to rain and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this THC gummy. I'm going to chill out. It's Alabama legal. Nobody freak out. I'm going to take this Delta 8 gummy. I'm going to relax. It's going to be great. I take it. And like, he's like texting me and I'm in like, how am I going to tell this guy? Like, I don't want to be with him. Like, I don't want to date him. Like, I didn't feel it. Cause I've never really had to do that before.
Yeah.
Like, I'm such a relationship girl. I've been in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really done like these little dates. And I was like, oh man, I'm scared of him. So I'm like, is he going to go like crazy on me? Cause I did have one of the instances where I was like where I dated a guy casually. Mm-hmm. He did kind of fucking stalk me. Like he just kept coming back. And so I was like, oh God, I'm so scared. Oh yeah. One guy that I dated like stole photos of me and my boyfriend and made memes out of them. It was fucking, I had to send a cease and desist order. I've had a wild dating life. To be someone who hasn't dated a lot, I have a wild dating life. But anyway, so I'm like talking to this guy. I'm already nervous. And then the fucking gummy hits me and it gives me extreme paranoia. The room starts spinning and like it gives me hallucinations, all kinds. I have the like most adverse reaction. My heart is pounding so hard. I'm in physical pain. And then, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just having a bad trip. I'm going to have to hang on for the ride and just like ride this out. I take some of my like, I have medicine for panic disorder that affects your like it's a blood pressure medicine, but if you have panic attacks, you can take it. Take some of that, and it's still pounding out of the chest, and I'm freaking out. And he's like, and like he called me and was talking to me on his way home, and I was like freaking out. I was like, I'm so scared, I'm freaking out, like. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna come bring you some water. And he comes over to my house. At this point, it has kicked in. I am hallucinating. I keep like have rolling blackouts where I forget what's happening. I'm in my car outside. The lights have gone off because it's a fucking storm. Bruno's in the car with me at one point. Like, actually, Bruno got left in the car until like 4:00 in the morning because I didn't remember him being in the car.
Oh, jeez. Anyway,
I am like, my body is trying to throw this stuff up. I am like throwing up so violently that I'm peeing on myself.
Oh, my.
It is like the worst thing possible. He comes in, he has this really nice car that he's had for like a month. And And the dog's outside chiming in like, yes, girl, it was crazy. But he comes in and he's like, get in the car, we're gonna drive around. And like, I'm like, please just take me to the hospital. I'm like sobbing hysterically because I'm tripping so bad. I can't, like, there are moments I remember who he is, and then there are moments I don't remember who he is. And I'm just fucking out. I'm just like, oh my God. And my heart's hurting. I'm like, please just take me to the hospital. I live like 7 blocks from the hospital. I'm like, please just take me to the hospital. Just leave me there. I need to be with someone. No, you don't need to go. I'm like, please, just take me to the hospital. I'm sobbing, begging, please, please, please. He's mad at me. He's like shoving my phone in my face, telling me to unlock my phone and to call the girl who gave me this gummy. He's going to take me to her. And I'm like, why? So I can go wake up her children? Like, just leave me at the hospital like I asked you to. This man is like driving around. He won't stop. He won't take me to the hospital. Like, and this felt like forever, but I'm sure it was only like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh.
I finally have to threaten him and be like, if you don't take me to the hospital right now, I am going to call 911 from the car. Take me to the hospital. And he finally dropped me off and everything. And it was like, the doctor was like, this is happening. It's happening a lot to women. What we have found out later from like another friend who had this situation, who wound up talking to another person who was a doctor, what we're finding out is that Delta 8 does not work well with women for some reason. Women tend to have these really bad responses to it. I'm sorry if y'all can hear the dog in the background. She's outside yelling at the neighbors. So please just forgive Piper. But
it's all good.
Women just don't have a good time with this gummy. And so I don't hear from that guy for like a week. And he was so adamant on not like ghosting. And I feel so bad. And I was just like, dude, like, for you to have been, I didn't want to hang out with him anymore, but I felt so bad that I had put him through that. Even though when I think about it now, I'm like, holy shit, no, he put me through. Yeah. I needed medical help. I was a woman trapped in his car. I had to threaten to call 911.
You had to put your foot down. And
I'm just so that person who I'm like, oh, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I did it. It's my fault. Yeah. And so like 4 days later, I was just like, dude, like, I understand that like this was probably a bridge too far, but to ghost me after you literally begged me not to ghost you is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And then he goes, what do you mean ghost you? We're going to hang out this weekend. Like we've had plans to hang out this weekend this whole time. And I was like, no, we have not. Why are you now gaslighting me? So he would just like lie about crazy things. And then like that situation, finally, I just wound up like blocking him and stuff. But that was my first date in like probably 4 years.
Good God, that guy had more red flags than a Chinese parade.
Yes. And I was just like, this is fine. Like, this is just me. This is just me being silly.
Good God.
I'm like, no.
Yeah. Alarms
at the same time,
and all that shit went off.
Yes. I was like, holy shit. That scared the shit out of me. That guy scared the shit out of me. And so I was like, yeah, okay, we'll never do that again. Well, so I wound up, during this time that I'm seeing this guy, I was also talking to like another guy, just getting to know him. And he was like a wrestling fan. He like very progressive kind of guy. I was like, this guy's really cool. And like, I kind of knew who he was because he's kind of well known in our area. And like, he does this specific, I won't say what kind of show, but he does this specific kind of show. And I go to those shows a lot. And I'm like, oh, like he seems really familiar. So I guess I've seen him there and I know his name from the fact he has a pretty public job. And so we start hanging out. And I go over to his house to hang out and I think that we have a good time. And I leave and the next day he doesn't message me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so like 2 days go by and I'm like, hey man, just in the effort of transparency, how should I receive that like we had this like hangout date kind of thing and then you just like don't talk to me for 2 days? And he was like, oh my God, I just didn't know. Like, how long should I wait before I message you? I know we don't talk all the time. And like, he's like, I was literally at work thinking I should message you, but I didn't want to come across clingy and desperate. And I'm like, okay, I totally get that, because I think that's something that a lot of people think about. And then we hang out like 2 other times, and he's a very physically affectionate person, but not a verbally affectionate person. So I'm like, are you just hanging out because we had made plans before and you like feel bad if you don't follow through? Or like, do you actually want to hang out? And at that time, I was also talking to another guy who lives out of town, and he was like wanting to be a little more serious, I think. And so
Oh,
I'm like, okay, well, I'm already going to have this like limited amount of time. I already have this limited amount of time because of my job. This person, like, I have to make plans. Like, I have to go out of town, or they have to come into town to see me.
right.
So, and they're looking for something a lot more serious than what this other guy was looking for. So I was like, I need to figure out if this guy even likes me. And so and I was like, I know, I'll just like try to hang out with him more and casually bring it up, or I should be able to tell. But he kept being like, yeah, yeah, we'll hang out. And he would never make plans with me. So finally, I
Mm,
was just like, hey, man, like, I literally can't tell if you like me or not. Like, are you into this? Do you want? And he was like, oh, I thought I was like really clear that I want to hang out, and like, I do like you. And then he hits me with but that being said, I don't think that I like can give you what you need. And he starts like going on about
mm,
how he just assumed I was dating other people. And I'm like, I am dating other people. He's like, so I didn't think I'd be that missed. I'm like, okay. And then what did he say? Something about like how he's so busy, and then he was having some other issue. And I was like,
mm.
okay, so you're
The,
fucking
the
busy.
whole,
That makes
yep, the
sense.
whole runaround.
That makes sense. That would have made sense to tell me that like a while ago, though, so I wouldn't have sat here this whole time, felt like I was annoying you, and be so confused. And he was just like, I just don't think I can give you what you need. And he starts proceeding to tell me what he thinks it is that I need. And one thing that I have clocked as a woman is when a man starts telling you what you need, he's already decided.
Yeah.
Because like he's telling me I need these things that I didn't even ask for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey man, do you like me? And he's like, I like you just fine, but I don't think I can give you what you need. I was like, need to know if you liked me. That was really all I was asking. But I was just like, okay, he's already made up his mind that he's not interested in doing this
Yeah.
anymore. And now he's trying to do that thing where he's trying to dump me, but convince me that it was my idea.
And how does that
Gives
and
me
how does
that
that
whole
make sense?
I don't know. I was like, man, you could have just been like, hey, I have a lot going on and I really don't have the time to do this. So you're really cool and I'd like to be friends, but I'm not going to be able to like actively date. And I would have been like, bet. But the way he went
Yeah.
about it was so like
Yeah.
triggering to me.
And
Like, because was in a relationship with a narcissist for a long time, and he did that where he would like make me do things. It's like they incept the idea into your mind.
right.
And so I
Kind of
clocked
like
it
a
real
cult.
fast on that. I was like, oh my God. Like he wants to dump me, but he doesn't want to be the bad guy and dump me. So he's going to try to make me be like, oh yeah, you know what? It's not working actually. I do need this and that and the third. I was like, you're trying to like get me to dump you and make it like my
Right.
idea so you don't
Yeah.
have to be a bad
You
guy.
basically.
I was like, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have been a bad
Mm,
guy. You wouldn't have been a bad
yeah.
guy at all. Like you would have just been, hey man, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Or we could have like talked
Yeah.
about it. But it didn't.
Right. He basically wanted to
I
get rid of you.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Who knows? I'll never fucking know. Because I was just like, look, I still, because he was like a wrestling fan, and we had so much in common to where I was like, even if it's not
Yeah,
going to be
that's
anything
almost like an
romantic between us,
instant
I'm
winner
still,
right there, Brand.
yeah, I still really wanted to keep him as a friend. And so that's why I was trying so hard to stay in the boundaries of what he said that he was like available and open to having out of like a situation, you know?
Right.
I was like trying to be so mindful of that and so
Yep.
respectful of that. And like, it just all blew up in my face anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so finally I was just like, look, I like you. I still want to spend time with you, but you've literally just told me that you don't have any time to spend with me. So like you didn't really you haven't really given me a choice. And I said, it's, I was just like, respectfully, I'm not the one with the hangups right now. So you figure out what it is that you want and get back to me. And the man, and that was like the middle of November, and not heard a word, not a
Mm.
peep from the man ever since.
Oh,
And I
oh,
was
kind of
like,
like my situation where I heard crickets.
yeah. I was like, oh, yeah.
We need a
Thanks for
we
that.
need a crickets button for that one. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a shitty situation, and
that was.
on
I
behalf
don't
of
think
us
he's
fellas,
a,
Brand, I'm sorry you went through that.
yeah. I still don't think he's a shitty person,
Right,
but
right.
I, I don't know what to make of that situation. I was
Yeah,
like, I, I just left it. I was just like, hey, I like you, but like, if you're going to be like
yeah,
this, what can I do? You gave me no
yeah.
choice. You don't get to say that I chose to end things. You gave me no choice. You dumped me. And so that's what I've told my friends. They were like, "How's it going with my mama?" And I said, "Oh, he dumped me." And it I don't know. I hate I hate that it kind of ended the way that it
Mhm.
did, but at least it ended a lot better than a hospital trip.
Oh yeah, how about it?
So, I call that progress.
Yeah,
I call that
yeah,
progress. But yeah, so that's been the wobblest world of
yeah.
my dating life. And you know what the crazy thing is I'm not done yet. I'm still gonna try to date in
Yeah,
2025.
exactly. So serious inquiry.
We'll see if I
Yep.
survive it.
So here's the thing: serious inquiries only. Alabama Slammer Brandy is still in the market, but serious inquiries only. You understand,
Yes.
fellas? Ladies, same thing with me. Serious inquiries only. Because we are busy people
I
and we got shit to do.
Yeah. I will say that with each one of these situations, they've A, been funny
Mm-hmm.
stories, but B, they've really helped you like fine tune in on like what you find acceptable, what you don't find
Mm-hmm.
acceptable, what you want and what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So this last situation with the guy, I don't have any ill will
Yep.
towards him or ill feelings. I hate
Mm-hmm.
that we're not friends anymore because like one, he's a wrestling fan, and I was so excited. I was like, even if things don't work out romantically, I'm so excited to have a wrestling friend in my city because I don't know anyone here
Yeah.
that likes wrestling
Yep,
besides me.
exactly. And that's like
Um,
finding a winning
so
lottery ticket. And same thing for the ladies that I came across and had experiences with. It was really sad that I didn't really find a connection or anything, even if she ends up not being a wrestling fan. Like, that's okay. Just like, it'd be nice to just send someone a good morning text or anything like that, or just have some kind of connection, someone to get coffee with. But
yeah,
it
really.
just kind of sucks that the situation and the modern dating world, along with social media, dating apps, and everything, just kind of reduced us down to being just these people that just have an idea of, are we coming or are we going? Where are we going from here?
But so that's what's been happening for me in dating, and it sounds like you had some interesting events as well. But I don't know. I don't know if you went to the hospital for any of those. So I may
Oh
have
yeah,
won.
yeah, you definitely have.
I may have
Oh
won
yeah.
the shitty dating
Mm-hmm.
life award
Oh
this year.
yeah. Yep. Mostly because I was saying to Brandy off air, just like when I know someone is not feeling it the way I'm feeling it, I completely take myself out of the equation just because I'm one of those people that I really enjoy my peace. Like
Mhm.
I'm one of those people where if I'm drawing or I'm hanging out by myself, which for the most time, if I'm not with my friends, I'm hanging out by myself anyway. Just like I actually took myself to the movies today to see Craven the Hunter, which okay at best, but I wouldn't see again. And that's a long story short for the most part. But it's one of those things where I just look at what I got in my life. Just my family's healthy because my dad had his set of issues and all that health wise, and my friends are healthy. I'm good. Brandy's good. I'm just really grateful for what I got. And
Yeah.
so if someone comes into the equation, you better be the icing to my cake, because as far as life for $1 million Matt goes in 2024, I made a pretty good fucking cake. So if you can add, so ladies, if you can add the little icing and the nice little decorations and all that, cool. We can make a good cake together. But if not, oh well, stay over there and do your thing.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? We were talking about like how life has been and your dad's
Mm-hmm.
issues. One thing is that in between the time where you and I had our call to set up doing this
Mm-hmm.
recording today, my uncle died and we had
Yeah.
like a whole funeral and
Yeah, you
stuff in
told me
between the
that
time.
off air. Yep. And once again, sorry to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Um I wasn't very close with him,
Mm-hmm.
but like it obviously it affected my dad, so I could, I could see that. My uncle my uncle has been a man that has been dying for a long
Mm-hmm.
time because he just like gave up on life. He just like stayed home. He didn't take care of himself. I don't even know that he always like got his medicine filled and stuff. He just lived this isolated
Mm-hmm.
life. And I don't know if it was depression or what, but what he eventually died of was complications from having a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, I mean, he made it to 69 years old, and he had always told my dad he never wanted to live to be old enough to like be an old feeble body.
Mm-hmm.
So literally up until he had the stroke, he was able to do everything for himself. He was totally independent. So I guess he got what he overall wanted, but it's sad. Like if he had just taken better care of
Right.
himself, he'd probably
Oh
still
yeah,
be here.
definitely.
But, you know, I think there are points in people's lives where the thrill of living is
Mm-hmm.
gone and they just are like, you know what? If it ends today, I'm good with that. I feel like that's
Right.
the mentality he had for a really long time. And so now I just hope that he's at
Yeah,
peace.
and that's the best thing that you can really think about, especially for folks that we lose over the years. Just like they're at
Yeah.
peace, they've lived a good life, they're happy with what they've done in life and the people they've impacted, and just connecting with people and just creating something positive in their lives. And I'm kind of at a loss for words for it, but you know what I'm talking about on this. Just like you left behind a great life and people that you love and you cared about saying, hey, this person was great in my life. I was glad I've had them for the time that they were here, and now we can kind of celebrate them.
Yeah. Like, everybody is going to experience at some point that, well, I mean, you'll be dead, so you won't experience
Right,
this, but
right.
we'll all have a time where it'll be the last time someone
Mm-hmm.
remembers us. And when you think about it in that context, you're like, oh, I better leave them with some good
Yeah.
memories.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's how I'm looking at life now, especially reaching 40. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people that have met me or have had an experience with me, not that I'm trying to get everybody to like me, but they've had at least a good experience with me.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Um I'm not quite 40. I'm 37, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there pretty quick. And so you do start thinking
Mm-hmm.
about things like
Mm-hmm.
that. How the not so I mean, call it a legacy if you will, but some things that used to matter a lot fall away and don't
Mm-hmm.
matter, and really like just your happiness, being around people who make
Right.
you happy, and like I don't know, you get this like sense of
Yep,
community
exactly. And there's
and
times
just
where you kind of miss it in a way, and I know a lot of us have missed it in 2020 being isolated, but I think we've
mhm.
found a way to get around it, especially being online and just recreating those communities, and even kind of with, like I was saying, with the events I go to, it's kind of like reestablishing it a bit. So we can add that plus that, like we're good to go.
Mhm. You know, you're really right about like we kind of took the town square online with
Hmm.
social media. I know that our vision with Wrestling Fluency has always been an interactive community where wrestling fans can talk about wrestling and we treat each other with respect because we noticed in the wrestling community there was a big
Hmm.
space missing for people to have conversations about wrestling, that they weren't getting berated for having a different opinion. Like no one's making fun of you if John Cena is your favorite
Right.
wrestler. Like we saw in the wrestling community that there was some really toxic online communities, and we
God,
have
yeah,
set
it's
out to we
horrible.
wanted to create Wrestling Fluency. Yeah, we wanted Wrestling Fluency to be a community of like respect and
Hmm.
open ideas and open
Yep.
conversations. And with that being said, I think now would be a good time, Matt, to kind of talk about some
Oh yeah,
wrestling news.
definitely. This is a great way to get into a segue of wrestling news, and I think we ought to start with Raw on Netflix, which is one of the big things.
Yeah, that was announced mm, when a few months ago,
Yep,
wasn't
I
it?
believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
I I have no concept of time. I'm like, I don't know if it was like
Yep.
3 months ago or 6 months ago,
Yep.
but we've known for a little bit now that
Mhm.
Raw was going to Netflix. So I was like, okay, well now I have a good excuse to have
Oh
Netflix.
yeah, definitely. Well, I've been had Netflix, so it's pretty much just like a given for me.
Honestly, I wish all of the WWE shows were going to Netflix because it's kind of annoying how it's like so spaced out
Oh yeah,
now.
definitely.
I don't have cable, so one of the big things for me that was difficult when we were doing this last year was being able to like catch up on the shows because the job I was working, I
Mhm.
stared at screens all day long and I had screen fatigue and I'd be exhausted. And the job I have now, I'm still working on a computer, but I am not just eyes glued to that computer for 9 hours like I was this other job. So I have a lot of time that, like at work, I can throw it on in the background and keep up with it
Mhm.
more.
Oh yeah.
So we found out that Raw's going to be
Hmm.
on Netflix. I think SmackDown's staying where it's at, or is it moving to USA?
I think it's still going to stay on USA if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it's
Oh
on
yeah. Oh
USA
yeah.
now. I keep getting it mixed up
Yep.
if it's on
Yep.
Fox
And
or not.
then NXT is actually on a local channel for us. It's on the CW.
Yeah, we have the
Oh, right
CW
on.
here
Oh, I
as
wasn't
well.
sure if that was.
Yeah. Um, and then Saturday night main event.
Oh yeah. Yep. We just actually had
I,
Saturday
I
night main event, which premiered.
we did with Jesse
Mhm.
Ventura, and then if I'm not mistaken, the PPVs are going to stay on Peacock.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna have to look more into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're moving to
Yeah.
Netflix. I think they're going to stay
Oh
on
yeah.
Peacock. I miss the WWE
Same
Network.
here. Facts.
I will say that I appreciate that the WWE has been releasing a lot of stuff on their YouTube channels, so that's nice. Um, but I do miss the WWE Network. I have not kept up with AEW at all. I got made a lot of fun about this, but I am just not the audience for AEW as much as I would really like to
Mm.
be. Like, because I would like to support the women's wrestling. I've always been a big women's wrestling fan. I love Daniel Bryan, but I am just not. I don't. I don't want to see a bunch of like hardcore stuff. I don't want to see people
Mm.
bleeding. I don't want to see bones
Yep.
breaking on TV.
See, I don't
Like,
I don't mind that
I
stuff.
don't
I,
want to
I can
see.
I can thank ECW for that one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fans that's their
Mm.
thing. They loved ECW. I didn't care for
Yeah.
ECW back then. I I have always been someone who liked the storytelling of wrestling. I liked the more soap opera aspects of it. And of course, I like good in ring work. Um, I like a match that tells a good story, one that like I forget that it's not real
Oh yeah,
kind
it
of
kind of
deal.
suspends your
Um,
reality a bit.
yeah. So, you know, someone shoving like
Sharp, yeah,
skewers
yeah,
in
or
somebody's
sharp
head
glass,
is
and
just
yeah,
not for me.
like which that for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a good threshold for violence in wrestling, but that's where I kind of draw the line right there. Just like when Hangman Page stuck that
Yeah.
needle in Swerve Strickland just to knock him out and incapacitate him, I'm like, okay, that's a little much. Y'all doing too much here, fam.
Yeah. It was a little much for me. I was like, this is just pro. And like, what kills me is if you say that. I remember I made a post about it and I was just like, or I posted on like one of the wrestling things on
Right,
Facebook and I was just like, this product is just obviously not for me.
right.
Like,
Just something simple.
I want
Just
to
saying it's
support
not your
them,
cup of tea.
but I can't. Yeah, it's just not a product for me. So I will be watching the WWE and like crying along with Cody Rhodes because I am an
Mm-hmm.
emotional person and like that's how to get me is make me emotionally
Mm-hmm.
invested in the story. So I will just be that
Oh
girl
yeah.
and I will cheer AEW on as a
Mm-hmm.
non-viewer.
Yep. And the thing is, that I have a good amount of favorite superstars in WWE as much as I do with AEW. Just like for AEW, on the AEW side, I like Swerve Strickland, I like Darby Allin, I like Malachi Black, I like Claudio, I like
Yeah.
Brody King, I like MJF for mostly his storytelling and et cetera and so forth. Few people here and there, and oh, and Timeless Tony Storm, and shout out to Timeless Tony Storm. I think this has been her year.
Yeah. She's had a great
Mm-hmm.
run in AEW and I've enjoyed her work. And like as you name those people, I'm like, I like all those people too. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see their storylines and stuff. But there's just some stuff that's so egregious. And really one of the things that bothered
Mm-hmm.
the shit out of me from this past year was AEW's obsession with talking about CM Punk on
Yeah,
TV.
you almost sound.
Like
Yeah,
when they showed that footage, I was like, you
yeah.
guys look
Y'all
pathetic.
look petty as shit. I mean, y'all look like the toxic ex that basically shown about their ex doing this, that, and the third, and it's just like, all right, y'all need to let it go, man. It's time to move on, fam.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like Phil Brooks because they feel like he's toxic
Yeah.
backstage. And I'm like, I feel like CM Punk has been the way he is from his
Mm-hmm.
indie days. And so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
excusing his behavior, but I don't know why anyone expected anything different from him. I love
Yep.
CM
Same here.
Punk. His character made me interested in wrestling again when I had fallen off and
Mm-hmm.
stopped loving it. So I don't know shit about Phil Brooks
Mm-hmm.
as the person, and I don't care. But I love the CM Punk character. I love what he's done since coming back to the WWE. I lost my mind as when Survivor Series happened and he came out. When he came back, lost my mind because I was positive. I was positive he was. I was like, he's gonna come, he's gonna come, and then like they put up the little thing. I was like, he really didn't come. He's really never gonna wrestle again. And then they hit the music, and I was like, I have been bamboozled in the best way. Yeah. The CM Punk character is a character I resonate with. I like stand up for the little guy, voice of the voiceless,
Yep.
fuck authority kind of deal.
Oh
I
yeah.
resonate with that character hardcore. So I
Yep.
was like,
And I think a
he's
lot
back.
of us see ourselves in CM Punk just like we seen in Stone Cold Steve Austin, but back to CM Punk, it's just like a lot of us see us as the people that weren't looked at as the most popular or the most cookie cutter kind of people. And that's what I really enjoyed about the CM Punk character, and that's what kind of drew me to him. That, and plus I was a fan of his since ROH. But I think the CM Punk character, for the most part, is what a lot of us average Joes and Janes relate to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I
in fact, speaking of CM Punk, I kind of, if you look at my Instagram, I actually did kind of an impromptu CM Punk Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, I did see. Oh man, that guy that I was talking to, it didn't work out
Yeah.
with, that was a wrestling fan, was Macho Man
Oh,
for Halloween. I was like, man, I was like, I get it, but what? Fine, you don't have to like me. You can dump me, but it does suck because you were
yeah.
fucking cool. It's a fucking cool Macho Man outfit.
Uh,
Damn it.
yep. I was going to say I would even improve of that because Brandon, all y'all know that's my all time favorite wrestler. You'd definitely need to
Yeah.
approve a list, but yeah, you're lost, pal. Yep,
Well, what are you
exactly.
gonna do?
Yep, you won some.
I'll just have to find other
Yep.
wrestling friends somehow. I swear I'm gonna have to put out like I'm gonna have to put out like a WWE bat signal, something. I'd be like, "Hello, other
Yep.
wrestling nerds in the area, please be my
I was
friend."
going to say I will, but it'll just take me a flight and a rental car probably. Actually, actually,
Seriously.
I don't. For some odd reason, I kind of have a fear of driving in other states, so I think I'd probably Uber
Oh man, I understand. I have driven in
there.
a
Mm-hmm.
few other states, and it can be very nerve wracking because you don't
Oh
know
yeah,
the
definitely.
area. Back in my day, when you had to use the fucking
Oh
MapQuest
yeah,
directions and a map, like an actual fold out of your
yeah, like a
glove
physical
compartment
map.
map. Yeah, things are a lot easier now
Oh
with
yeah, thank
GPS
goodness
on
for
your
that.
phone and stuff. But
And shout out, yep,
yeah,
and shout
let
out
me
to
tell
my
you.
phone mount that I actually have on my car because that way I'll have to look down and be like, all right, when do I turn off? And then I turn off my exit to the right in the next couple miles. Okay, cool.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But let me tell you, I have the most recent I've driven is in went to Atlanta, and Georgia traffic is
Mm-hmm.
fucking crazy, man.
Oh yeah,
It's crazy.
yep,
I am definitely I am definitely someone who prefers to be like the
yep,
ride along person versus the
yep,
driver myself. I
and
totally
I
get it. But
yep, and
it's
I was
not so
gonna
bad
say,
down
and
here.
I can attest to Atlanta traffic myself. Me and my friend were down there, and holy cow, it is crazy.
Yeah. And then the parking is like $900.
Yeah, it's like
I
okay, how
was
about
just
I
like,
just hand over my weekly paycheck?
it pretty much is that. Okay, what else
Oh,
happened in
oh,
wrestling
oh,
news? Vinnie Mac
yep,
is
Vinnie Mac
definitely
is
out.
out of here. Yep, and the Triple H, and we
Um,
are currently experiencing the Triple H era.
mhm.
Yep,
We saw the fall of the bloodline, and the
yep,
resurgence of the bloodline.
and now we have a civil war of the bloodline. The We have the new
Hmm.
bloodline against the OG bloodline.
Yeah. We saw the
Yep,
Cody movement and The Rock getting humbled. I did not know that The Rock had like ill will in Hollywood until this
yep.
past
I
year.
think I heard a report to that.
Yeah. I've just like so I've listened to other podcasts and people talk about him and like all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh my god, I thought
Yeah,
everybody loved The Rock." I was unaware that all this drama
yeah.
was
Like
around The Rock.
I try to stay away from behind the scenes stories and all that, but you get all these reports coming out, and I'm like, oh my. I was like,
Yeah,
I
for
didn't know
sure.
that shit was going down.
Well, we have
Yep,
been
about it.
surprised. Yeah. What other
Yep.
big? I can't think of really any other
Oh,
big wrestling news this
how
year.
about the breakup of the New Day?
Oh, that is
Mm-hmm.
recent
Yep.
news,
And
recent big
I
news.
gotta say, all of our hearts were broken.
Yeah, I was shocked that it was those two
Yeah.
against Big E. and it wasn't like all three of them splitting.
Because I almost thought we were going to get a reemergence of Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Be like, okay, who's going to be Marty Jannetty? Who's going to be Shawn Michaels? Is it going to be Kofi Kingston or is it going to be Xavier Woods?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Big E's ever coming back to the ring. I don't think he ever
No.
can. So I get wanting to like divorce Kofi and Xavier Woods from the New Day gimmick. It's just not how I thought it was. So I assume they're going to go on as a tag team and just be something different. Really, at this point, though, it's like how much, like what else you got left in the tank? You've literally done everything.
And on top of that, they basically have been in the zone for the past decade or so, and
they have been the tag division for 10 years.
Yeah, that, they're already shoo-in Hall of Famers without question. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's just like, do you remember that period of time where it was literally just New Day and the Usos carrying
my God, they
the
carried
division
it on
back
their
and
backs.
forth?
I'm surprised their backs are still intact and not hurting.
Well, Big E's neck isn't intact anymore. This year we also got the debut of some new women's titles. Finally got the United States title and the Intercontinental title.
It was about time. Just so we can have.
We know that Chelsea Green is the United States champion. Well deserved. I have loved her work.
I've been a big fan of hers for a long time.
She's really good.
And on top,
I was like, she's kind of like their Dolph Ziggler over there.
The thing is, she was around the time she came out during that season of Tough Enough, where Mandy Rose and someone else who we won't mention. But anyway, I think she's literally coming to her own, and I think most people that looked at her said, "There's something special. There's something special about Chelsea," and you see it.
Yeah, she's just like, she's so good in these matches. She makes these girls look so. She's such a solid person for them to work off of. And I saw an interview recently with Nick Aldis about her, and if you know a lot about insider wrestling talk and how they refer to things, the interview he gave was really high praise. And they asked about Chelsea, and he said working with her is like a night off, which I've heard Jim Cornette talk about this before. Like, that's some of the highest praise. Oh, it's a night off. It's so easy to work with them. It's a night off. Like, it's such a compliment. He said something else too, and I was like, oh wow, like he called her business. He's like, she's business. And I'm like, what an amazing interview clip. And like, I hope Chelsea sees that and it just makes her feel so good, because that is high praise. But I feel the same way. I was just like, I was watching her in some match in like towards the middle of the year, and I was like, damn, Chelsea Green's good. Chelsea Green's really good. I really like her. It just like it's like we all just had this awakening. She had like a series of matches, and we were like, damn, she's good.
That too, her character work is great. She just has that that annoying go away type of heat and all that. I mean, it's not like high heat like the New Day or Dominic Mysterio has, but it's kind of like that, get lost, go away, kind of like an annoying gnat in a room. But it's good.
I will give it to Dominic Mysterio that he has remained interesting. He has. This stuff with like Liv and Rhea has remained interesting. It makes me wonder if they're going to carry it all the way to WrestleMania and have that be one of the like main event. A year ago, you could not have told me Liv Morgan was going to be in a main event, and here she is,
killing it, crushing it.
But it's very possible, because they did a good job with their storyline, with the drama, and then bringing Raquel in I thought that
Yeah,
was such a good
yeah, that
follow
was
up.
another great element to add in there because Raquel had history with Rhea.
It was. She did, and and Liv was her friend. Liv
Hmm.
was her partner. So I was like, this was really good
Oh yeah,
storytelling on their
definitely.
part.
And it kind of goes to show, especially with adding Dom into the equation, is that I'll say something unpopular, just like I honestly think he surpassed his dad. And I'm a Rey Mysterio fan. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a big Rey Mysterio mark. And I gotta say, Dom surpassed his father.
I don't know
I'm
about
just
all that.
well,
I don't
unpopular
know if I
opinion,
would say that.
Brandon, but that's where I stand on that one. I think
Yeah.
he
I think that he has had an amazing
right.
beginning to his career.
I honestly just think he has already. I think he's already established himself.
Mhm. What will be interesting, and I think what will really solidify whether his career is going to be like on his dad's level or above, for me, is after he's done being
Hmm.
Liv's boyfriend and he's done with like the
Yeah.
mommy gimmick and stuff, like how his career
Yeah.
plays out from there is what will be
Yeah.
the deciding factor for me, because he's been kind of playing the same thing for several years now, but he's kept
Hmm.
it new and interesting and like and
Yeah.
fresh. So
Yeah. And
I'd be interested
I
to
think
see.
he's got it. Now I'd be interested. I think after that,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be definitely interested in seeing Dom at some point as a babyface.
Yeah, he may make it. This past year we've had CM Punk and Drew
Oh man, I love
McIntyre
me some Drew McIntyre.
in.
He's the man right now to me.
Yeah, I when Punk first came in, of course we were all like, "Oh, he's gonna have a
Oh
thing
yeah,
with
definitely.
Seth,"
That was the given.
and Drew, Drew and CM Punk's storyline quickly became more interesting to me than him and Seth. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very interested in it now. I'm like, yes, show me more. But I did not. I was really interested the whole time Drew and CM Punk had their
Oh
thing.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and
Drew has a way of making
oh
himself
yeah,
relevant. I will give him that.
absolutely. And his matches are great. His storytelling's awesome, especially as a heel, especially as that jealous heel. He's really made
Oh,
his
yeah.
mark. And I think
Yes.
everything with the story he's been involved with Seth and Punk, it's just been great. It's an absolute chef's kiss. And on top of that, the matches, the packages, everything, it's just been great. And I've really been impressed with Drew McIntyre.
It has.
That's why that's why
Same.
he's at the top of my list right now in WWE. Him and another guy I'd like to mention who recently just got signed this year and was one of my low key favorites outside of WWE, and that is my man Jacob Fatu. I love Jacob Fatu.
Yes. The insurgents. The
He is
insurgents of
awesome. I
Samoans.
love you, Solo. And throwing the praying hands up.
Everybody was waiting. Yes. Everybody, like, when the others were coming in, they were like, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
nice, but Jacob. But when are we gonna get Jacob? Are we and then he came out and I remember
Yeah,
people
I
losing their
did
mind
too.
over that.
I was like, holy shit, Jacob Fatu! Just like I love this dude since MLW. Like I've been a fan of Jacobs. Just like I know what he can do in the
Mm-hmm.
ring. Just like he's basically, although he's lost some weight and we can tell he's basically a highly athletic Umaga. But
Yeah, I can
man,
see that.
he's done great work. Um, his character development it's still in its infancy, but it's been great, especially the dynamic between him and Solo, where he's the enforcer and he'll pretty much do anything to complete Solo's bidding. And I find that
For
awesome.
sure.
Just like he's a great right hand man.
I do.
He's a great enforcer.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. I really liked the subtle things they did at Survivor Series War Games,
Mm-hmm.
like between Punk and between Roman, especially. I thought that was really interesting. That one
Oh
photo
yeah.
of them both in the cage
Yep.
together. That is
Which
so
I
funny.
actually recreated and did a drawing of, and I also kind of made a movie poster out of. Yep. And
Yeah, you did.
one of my favorite movies, a little off topic, is movie with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, Meet the Parents. I put Meet the Bloodline, and I put
Hmm.
Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the cage, and kind of made like a movie poster out of it.
Yes. Look, when they started like getting all of the former Bloodline members together, I was just like
Oh
waiting for
yeah.
Sammy. I love Sami Zayn, and I have since the first time I laid eyes on this man. Adore Sami Zayn, and so I was just like, "Oh my god, I can't wait! I can't wait for the blood. I can't wait for things
Oh
to
yeah,
be Usi
definitely.
again."
Yep, we wanted Sammy Uso. We were craving and cramming at the bit for Sammy Uso. We wanted him to come up. We were just like, yes, we want the whole bloodline back.
Yes, it was. It was definitely a feel
Oh
good
yeah,
moment
definitely.
for me.
Yep.
What have you thought about Cody's reign?
Uh, there's some high points and some low points. I know before the stuff with Kevin Owens started, it was kind of getting dry a little bit. It's just like, okay, where do we go from here? Because there's so much you can do to
Yeah,
connect Cody and the bloodline, and it's just like we want new, fresh stories. Just like I'm still waiting for Orton to kind of be like in the background and all that, and be like, I want my shot, motherfucker. You know, I gave you your shot with Legacy.
yeah.
I'm waiting for my shot.
I think that things can get really, really dry when you have a white meat
Mm-hmm.
baby face like Cody Rhodes. I do think he has been a fantastic face for the company. He is so good with the kids. Like what you could I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you could have asked for a better like
Oh yeah,
face right now. Especially for the kids and stuff. But sometimes when he talks, it's a little haughty. It's like, all right, man, bring it
yeah,
down a little
exactly.
bit. Bring it down.
Especially
It's a
this.
little rehearsed.
Yeah.
He needs he needs that bad guy. He needs a bad
Mm-hmm.
guy to be up against. Like I like the idea of him just being like, I've beat this person and that person, and then like
Mm-hmm.
a new heel really emerge and them have a really bitter, bad, just
Mm-hmm.
bloody kind of. Um, and I say bloody, I don't mean
Yeah,
like you
yeah. It doesn't
necessarily
have to
have
be
to
a
be
knockdown,
bloody, but
drag out,
I
but
mean just like yeah, so much like the Roman story was so pinnacle. It
mm-hmm.
was so top tier. And like now he's just been doing it a while. I really like the idea of him just being like, dude, I'm bored. I've been
Yeah.
through y'all. I've run through y'all. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's been babyface for this long. Got to turn
That's
him heel." I'm like,
that's not always the
not
answer.
the answer
Exactly.
is not always to
Exactly.
turn them heel. Cody is one of the few people who does well as a babyface.
Yep.
Let him be a babyface and just give him
Let him
good fucking
cook.
heels to work off of.
Let my man's
Let him
cook.
cook. Turn the
Yep,
whole ring into
exactly.
a kitchen.
Yep. I was gonna say, speaking of title reigns, while we're on the topic of title reigns, what do you think of Gunther's title reign?
Mm-hmm. Listen,
Yep, same here.
I love that
Same
man.
here. I'm a big Gunther fan. I don't care. I'm a Gunther
I
mark.
love his work. He's
Mm-hmm.
such an asshole, and his work is so good. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I fucking love that guy. And I think he's
Mm-hmm.
done really good business. I really like him, and I could for sure see him becoming like
Mm-hmm.
that heel that you see him and Cody, and you're like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the final showdown. It's like this is
Yeah.
grudge. This is
Yeah.
dirty. Like I can see him
Yep,
taking
and
that
I
space.
think you can do great work off of that after Gunther took that L in Crown Jewel. I think you can play a real good revenge story on that where Gunther's like, I want my win back, motherfucker. Like
Yes.
you
Oh
can
my gosh.
honestly have like a karma finally hitting Cody again after that, because after that storyline when
Mhm.
Gunther was getting ready to go into his feud with Damian Priest for the title, I believe at
Yeah.
what was the one of the last pay per views that they, I think they just fought on it if I'm not mistaken. Uh, yeah,
I don't remember.
yeah,
I watched it
yeah.
and I
Oh
don't
my
even
god,
remember which one.
old age kicking in, folks. Bear with me. But anyway, after that, we kind of noticed the little cracks um in his strong exterior where Gunther, yeah,
I really liked the
mm,
work between
oh yeah,
Gunther and Damien.
yeah,
Actually, I thought it was really
and
good.
the thing I like about it too was just like coming back to what I was saying, we seen the cracks in his exterior, and Damian Priest was pretty much attempting to expose it, and it was just awesome
Yes.
because we when we first seen Gunther, we seen him as this unstoppable force, like this badass dude that held the IC title for a record amount of days, and on top of that, after that, being a dominant world champion. So just to see that and a
Yes.
little bit of his character work, I'm just like, okay, Gunther, I'm gonna just get out the kitchen. I'm gonna just let you cook, my man.
Yeah. I think he's I think he's been great. I think we'll see him at that top level for the rest of his career, really. He's just like he's just a
Mm-hmm.
strong heel.
Yep.
Um
Yep.
let's see.
And I, yeah.
Trying to think who who else really had a
Oh,
standout
we
year.
can't forget this guy. I'll give you a word and it rhymes with eat and it begins with a Y.
Oh, yeet.
That was a great segue to come in. But man, has this been, although he had a short IC title reign, man, does he get over? Does he get a response when?
People freaking
Yeah,
love him. I love it.
I
I get hyped. I
I
get so
think
excited when he comes
I
out.
think at one point when I was watching an episode of NXT where he came out on Trick Williams and Wesley segment, I think I heard women screaming for Jay, like
Mhm.
ah, like they were
Dude,
going
and like
nuts.
let me tell you, I I have to eat my hat on this because way back,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking way back, I was like, Jimmy Uso is he's it. He's going to be the breakout single star of the Usos.
Oh
He's
yeah,
funny, he's charismatic, he's handsome, he's got the beautiful wife to come out with him. Like he's going to be the breakout star of that. And I was so surprised when it was
yeah,
Jay. Like I feel like Jimmy has all the potential in the world and he just hasn't found the
yeah.
story for him yet. But man, Jay found his lane and he fucking
Oh
has
yeah,
stayed in it and been
yeah.
great
And
in
Jay
it.
is phenomenal too. Yeah, I just hope to see at some point he gets either a decent intercontinental title reign or he gets a run at one of the world titles. I would love to see that. I would.
I could I could see him being a challenger for the world
Oh
title
yeah.
for Gunther like at a WrestleMania. And honestly, it's December.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania is March,
Yeah.
April. They're going to start building things now.
Yeah. I think they're going to start planting little seeds.
They're going to have to because they're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to start building things for Royal
Mm-hmm.
Rumble and everything like that. Oh my God, is Royal Rumble next
Yeah.
month?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I was going to say it's December
Oh, I
now. It's
can't wait.
usually in January. So.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's literally one of
Mine
my
too.
favorite pay per views.
Matter of fact, it's one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views. Mostly for,
Mm.
yeah. I was
It's
gonna
like,
say mostly for the fact that you don't know who's coming.
yeah, it's just such like, it's just like this high emotional thing for wrestling fans when we're like counting down and stuff.
Hmm.
It's such an interactive pay-per-view. I really hope that I can find someone who
Oh
wants to
yeah,
watch it
absolutely.
with me this year. I would like I as some of the listeners may know, like I have she's passed, but I have a sister
Hmm.
named Tanya, and that is
Hmm.
how me and Matt met each other. And I also used to have a guy best friend named Devin, and we called him Devo. And we would get together and
Hmm.
we would watch WrestleMania, and we would watch um, just all the pay per views and like Royal Rumble, like the big ones. We would buy pizza and
Oh
just
man.
all this fun stuff. And my sister passed away. I'm no longer friends with that
Mm.
person anymore. We've grown apart. And so I'm just like, oh man, I really wish I had some wrestling
Oh
friends
yeah.
to watch
Yep. And I
PPVs
was gonna
with.
say, speaking of Tanya, that's pretty much how me. Well, here's the origin story for those that don't know. Me and Tanya met through the AIM days. For those that are old enough to remember, those enough to know. But for those that don't, AIM was basically the way to connect with other people across the country, across the world, and me and Tanya's common interest, Brandie's sister, was wrestling. So that way, we pretty much talked to each other about wrestling like day in and day out. Just like it was cool. I was just like, all right, I can see you being friends. And then somehow she told me she had a sister named Brandie, and that's how me and her connected.
Yeah. And then, so
Mm-hmm.
I knew Matt in passing, and I knew that he had been a good friend of Tanya's. And when I got this idea that I wanted to start a wrestling podcast, because
Mm-hmm.
more backstory on me, I was a panelist on the Pipe Bomb podcast back in the day. I used to do Miss Wrestle blog, which was kind of like a review. I've done some writing for other wrestling websites and stuff like that. But when I was like, okay, I really want to launch a wrestling website, and I want to have like I don't want to do it by myself. I want to have a co-host. I was like, Matt. Matt is the perfect person
Yep,
to
and
ask
I'm
to do
glad you
this.
did. I'm glad you considered me. So
Yep.
definitely shout out to you, Brandie.
And now here we are. Thank you, Matt. Now here we are,
Yep.
all this
And
time later, with a community that that Matt
I
built
was gonna
pretty
say you
much.
did some work too. Yeah.
I tried, but Matt has definitely. I'll give him his all his flowers at this moment, especially in the last year, but really since the inception. Because I was like, "Hey, I've got an idea about doing a wrestling podcast," and then became the most like unreliable podcast partner
I was
ever.
gonna say no.
Just oh my gosh! In those early days, we just had such a hard time doing stuff. There was like not having the equipment, not having the know-how
Mm-hmm.
to do it, not having all this just it was just so
Yeah.
hard in the beginning to get
Yeah.
stuff out.
And it
And
was
like
just those days where basically me and Brandie were just like going through the trenches and just trying to navigate this whole thing because this was kind of new to me. And
mhm,
for those that don't know, aside from my vibrant personality I have on here, just like I'm completely like shy in real life. Like I will literally like stutter and bumble over my words. And as you can kind of tell, there's times where I kind of get lost in thought or lose my train of thought. But I think once I usually find my footing, like I'm good to go.
yeah, you are. And you know what, Matt? This conversation brings us around to um like
Mm-hmm.
talking about our next subject. Well, actually, nope. We have a subject before that. I was going to say what's next for Wrestling Fluency, but we wanted to talk
Mm-hmm.
about wrestlers to look
Oh
out
yeah.
for on this episode as well. So, like, in this coming year, and we've kind of touched on some of that, just
Mm-hmm.
like casually discussing back and forth the people who had a really good year last year. But like going forward, who are you? Who are you seeing
So
in the next
it
year?
might be a little premature, but for those that don't know, I follow NXT, and I think one of the guys to definitely look out for, and he's been one of the most dominant NXT North American champions, and that is newcomer Obafemi. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I
I
was
don't
gonna
know
say
anything about
if you
NXT
get
right
a
now.
chance to check out Obafemi, check him out. He's definitely a sight to see. I mean, he got the size, he got the look. Listening him on the mic, he definitely has it. Just this badass dude from Nigeria. Oh yes, he
Oh,
does.
does he have a Nigerian accent? I want to say that I really love the like representation of different accents being like more of a thing. You know, there was a time when Vince McMahon was like, "Oh no, you
Mm-hmm.
can't
Yep,
understand them,"
let
and
him
I'm like,
cook.
"Let him talk. This is your main audience is the United States of America, which is literally the land
Yep,
of like
exactly.
immigrants. Let them
It's the
talk."
land of opportunity. But to add to that, also speaking of all that, in recent events, I would say also look out for Shinsuke Nakamura. Yep,
Yeah,
the
he's back with a new
resurgence of
character.
Shinsuke Nakamura and that dark warrior, that dark samurai image that he has right now. I'm freaking loving it. I'm just like, dude, this is what happens, and I know this is probably going to be my thing that I say all the time, but I'm gonna just say, just let my man cook. Just let him cook. Let him do his thing. But I think Nakamura is definitely going to be one of the names to look after. Um, Another one that comes to mind that I'm thinking about, and she's current Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
it's definitely Tiffy
yeah.
time next year.
I think this is going to be her year, and I think slowly but surely we've seen little seeds planted of her having that baby face run and turning baby face. Yeah,
Oh, you think
yeah.
she'll run it
Well,
babyface? Okay.
I think after the SmackDown taping in Minnesota, man, you should have heard the pop when she came out. It was awesome.
People really like her. And what I notice is like sometimes there are female wrestlers that all you ever see the men talk about is that they're hot. I will say with Tiffy, people do talk about that she's attractive, but they talk so much about her
Oh yeah.
athleticism too. They're like actually very
Mm-hmm.
into the character and into her
Oh yeah,
body of
definitely.
work, not just her body. And if I can see that in wrestling community online, then you know that's probably the general
Yep, it
consensus
definitely
altogether.
is. And anybody who sees beyond that pretty much knows what they're talking about.
I feel like the women's division has so many like women that are coming up that are like looking to they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be rising stars kind of deal. That it's going to be interesting because I've heard
Mm-hmm.
rumors that Charlotte Flair is coming back, and they do say that probably Becky Lynch will be back in time for the Netflix launch. Those two women for the past decade have been pillars
Mm-hmm.
of the women's division. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see the role they
Yeah.
take on
Yeah.
because now there's so much stuff. Like I know that
Mm-hmm.
like the Intercontinental title, I know that they're wanting Natty for that. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
Natty is still wrestling. That's
Yeah.
insane. Natty's been
Yeah.
wrestling for so long.
And I'll say
Like,
this, Brandie,
um,
just an early prediction and just my opinion. I think Natty's most deserving in that tournament. That's just me.
yeah. I just think that Natty is someone who
Oh yeah.
everybody can have a good match with. And these titles, if you think about it, they put it on Chelsea Green. And what were we saying
Oh
earlier
yeah.
is
She
that Chelsea
definitely
makes people
does.
look so good in these.
Mm-hmm.
She's like so good to work across from. Natty's the same way. Natty
Mm-hmm.
is like one of the best wrestlers in the world,
Yep.
period. Not just as a woman, but like one of the
Yep.
best wrestlers in the world, period, when it comes to technique. She's
Yep.
excellent to work off of. And I'm like, okay, they've
Mm-hmm.
got these new titles. They've put it on Chelsea. They're probably going to put it on Natty. That's two
Mm-hmm.
really strong
Yep.
women. I was like, man, I could foresee having
Yep.
some really great clashes for these titles
Yep.
because anyone that they put
Mm-hmm.
up there, the people that are the current
Oh
champions,
yeah,
gonna make
definitely.
them look like
And
$1 million.
I was gonna also say too. I know there's a lot of great wrestlers across the world, but there must be something in the water in Canada where if you're from Canada and you get in a ring or you've been around a wrestling ring, you're going to be a solid wrestler. They're,
That is sure enough true.
mm-hmm.
Canadians, Samoans,
Mexicans.
Yeah. Well, especially
Oh yeah,
Mexicans, because
definitely.
lucha libre is
Yeah,
like
that's part of
life.
their culture.
It's a way of life.
Yep.
Hmm. Which, speaking of the Latina
Mm,
and Latin presence, I wonder um, if if Zelina will finally kind of get her moment
yeah.
now that there are
Yep.
lesser, not lesser titles,
Uh,
but like
uh,
other
the reason
titles
why
to
I'm
go for.
ucking is because I feel like she should have definitely been one of the first inaugural Intercontinental champions, just to give her her moment. But I understand it's on TV, but and you want to make kind of like a big moment for her if they are building or cooking up something for her on that. But I just feel like she needed that win more than anyone, more than Lyra Valkyrie. And no disrespect to Lyra Valkyrie, but I think Zelina needed to win more.
Yeah. I am hoping that they're going to have another live event in Puerto Rico because my God, that went off.
Oh, that was
That
awesome.
was such a good pay per view. The crowd was insane. I would love to see another like another event there and Zelina win her first like
That would
singles
be
title there.
great.
I think that would be really
Mm-hmm.
emotional.
Yep.
It'd be really good storytelling.
Yep.
So that's what I'm
Yep. It'd
hoping
be
for
a
this
great.
year for
It would
Zelina.
definitely be a great homecoming moment, especially for her, since that's pretty much part of her home country.
Yeah. I am interested to see what Charlotte Flair and Becky
Yeah.
Lynch will do because they've done everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're living legends. So it's like, okay,
Yep.
well,
Exactly.
what now? What is left? It's for me it's almost like why are
Yeah.
y'all coming back?
Exactly.
You've done it
Yeah.
all. You've
I mean,
literally done
not
it all.
unless, and
Um
it might be a far cry and a far stretch for him, but in case they might want to make the women that are coming up.
Oh, I'm sure that's what their goals and intentions are is to
Yeah.
like do whatever it is that they have left to do, really add to the storylines because like honestly, we know that like
Mm-hmm.
beating a Becky Lynch or beating a Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
Flair kind of
Yeah.
makes you a made woman in the division. So I'm sure that that they're coming back to do that kind of stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it'll just be interesting to see because
Yeah.
you have there's just
Oh yeah,
such larger
definitely.
than life characters now. They're like
Oh,
they're like the
oh
Stone
yeah,
Cold and Rock
definitely.
of the women's division.
I could see that
So
too. I could see that.
so the people that the people that work against them have big shoes to fill. Like, okay, you're
Mm-hmm.
these are like the top of the top women you're working with now. So you're
Yep,
gonna
definitely.
have to
Show
like
up and
show up.
show out. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
for real. Well, Matt, anyone else
Oof.
that you're kind of
Oh my
keeping an
goodness.
eye on in the
Brand,
next
I'll
year?
be honest, I watched so much wrestling that you'd probably be here all night, but I would say mostly the women from NXT and some of the men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, trying to think who else. Trying to think who else to look out for as far as that goes. Um, I was going to say, Do you have anybody in mind?
I don't really. I think we'll finally see Jay Uso get his moment with like the world title, maybe something like that. Um, I think we'll continue to see Braun Breaker go up Gunther as well. Um, but yeah, I haven't kept up with the product enough to really have too solid of a prediction on like people. I'm excited to get back into watching the product more frequently so I can really see those things coming. But
Yeah. Yeah.
those are kind of some of the
Yeah.
people that
And
stand out
oh,
to
you know what? I just thought about this and kind of shifting into the tag team division a little bit. I think DIY might be a tag team to possibly look out for. and your favorite tag team, the Motor City Machine Guns.
That's true. Motor City Machine Guns. It's so crazy to in
Mm-hmm.
2024, almost 2025, be talking about DIY as
Mm-hmm.
being like breakout tag team because they were killing it with
Oh yeah, and
FTR
on top of
down in
that too,
NXT.
they would always be put in the underdog the underdogs for the tag team division, but now they're kind of like crushing it.
Yeah, I would really love for FTR to come back to WWE. I
Yeah,
feel like they've
I
been
agree,
wasted
and
in AEW.
I say the same thing for Malachi Black. I really yeah, and
Oh my god, yes, I'd love for
what's
him to come
crazy
back.
is, and I know you're big on story, and I think you might be interested in this.
Yes.
Malachi come back, team him up with his wife, and make him kind of like this dark gothic power couple.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I would love to see him come back. I think that AEW had went through and I don't watch the product now, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't say. But what I was noticing when I was watching the product is they had a stacked
Mm-hmm.
roster of amazing fucking people that they just did nothing with,
Mm-hmm.
or everything they did it was half-ass. And actually, one thing that I would like in the new year that's not going to happen, but I would like it is I would like Danhausen to NXT. Thank you.
and
I would
yeah,
like Danhausen with
and I
Pepsi
was gonna
Phil.
say,
Yes, thank you.
speaking of a far cry, although I doubt it's gonna happen, I would really love to see Darby Allin become AEW World Champion. Yeah,
Yeah, if he can stay healthy.
definitely. Yeah, because I'm a big for some particular reason, Brand. I really kind of like lean towards Darby Allin a little bit.
I think you see
Yeah,
a lot of
we're
yourself in
both
him.
skinny bastards that would kind of like put our bodies on the line. Oh
Both
yeah,
skinny
definitely.
bastards who go
I
through real
think if I were
glass.
to have a wrestling style, I think it would kind of be similar to a little bit of Kyle O'Reilly mixed with Swerve Strickland, mixed with Darby Allin.
I would not be a wrestler, but
I
I
could
think
see
I would
that
be
with
a
you.
really good manager.
Uh, 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 yeah,
I
I was
think
going,
I
but
have always
unfortunately,
wanted to.
Brand reaching the age of 40, I think I'm past my athletic prime on that one. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Then be a
I would
manager
definitely have the
too.
charisma for that. But I was going. Oh, I gotta talk to you about that offline when we get off here.
Yeah. So I think we're rounding out
Oh,
about
holy cow!
2 hours. We're getting
Holy
close to
cow!
2 hours of
Wow,
recording, so I think it's good.
we've been
Yeah.
jabbing. We've been jabbing.
Well, we've
Oh
had
yeah, we
we've
definitely
had a
have.
lot of to say. We've
Yeah,
been yapping.
definitely.
I'm a
Yeah,
certified
I was gonna
yapper.
say
I don't know
I'm
about you,
more like a I'm
but
more like a
wrestling
certified
fluency is
chime
about
in.
conversation. I am a yapper. Um,
Yeah,
but that's what
yeah,
wrestling fluency is
absolutely.
about. Speaking wrestling, but I think we should wrap it up by talking about what's next for the channel, what's next for the
Yeah,
podcast, what's going
so
on,
I
what are
think
we
for
doing
the
here.
most part, you'd be looking for new stuff that we're going to come up with, new topics, and new subjects to talk about. So I would strongly suggest y'all keep that notification on. Stay tuned because we might have a little something for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was going to say, what you thinking, Brandy?
Yeah, I'm thinking definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your
Mm-hmm.
notifications, like us on like
Yeah.
whatever podcast
Mm-hmm.
streaming method that you're listening to us on. I'd really say get in the community. We have a Facebook group.
Right on.
If that starts to grow, if we need to
Mm-hmm.
move to Discord, we can do something like that, because I'm wanting to do a lot more interactive stuff in the group where we're all talking together. I'd love to see more like people talking in the comment section, because we're definitely in there talking, reading the comments and stuff like that. But yeah, so we're really just going to try. Our goal with Wrestling Fluency is for it to be a like
Mm-hmm.
living organism, pretty much, of where we are having a conversation about wrestling and what happened on wrestling and what we're thinking about this, both present, past, future. Like, so as far as our content goes, we're still talking about exactly what we want to settle into content wise goes. But the ultimate goal that we're going forward with is to create a conversation about wrestling and to be a safe space for people to talk and not get
Thanks.
bullied. And yeah, that's kind of what it is. So who knows, like, we might be doing catch ups on what happened this month in wrestling on one episode, and then the next episode we're doing a deep dive on somebody else. Just we'll just have to see how it goes. My suggestion is to
Mm-hmm.
subscribe, to turn on your notifications,
Yep.
and to
And on
join
top
the
of that
Facebook
too,
group.
another thing I'd like to add to, Brand, share with your fellow wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
because basically, in adding on to what Brandy's saying, we're really trying to build a community here where we can all kind of come together as wrestling fans from all walks of life. Whether you're a fan in the golden era, you're a fan during the Attitude Era, you're a fan of the current era, or you're a fan of Lucha Libre, or you're a fan of New Japan style wrestling, or hardcore style wrestling in GCW. Just
Mm-hmm.
like you're here to talk wrestling without fear of judgment. And we definitely want to create that without anybody wanting to talk shit and act all high and mighty. Is because folks like that, we're just telling you to kick rocks.
Yeah, like, go follow other podcasts that appreciate that kind of behavior. I know, like, oh,
No,
all engagement is good engagement. No, it's not. I don't want to see any. I'd rather have no engagement than somebody getting like
right? Yeah,
like
definitely.
bullied in the comment section. I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to see that. And like the wrestling, on the online wrestling community
Mm-hmm.
gets such
Oh
shit
yeah,
all the
definitely.
time from outside communities about being so toxic to each other. We're really trying to work against that stigma and create our own little lane. We're over here. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be a part of that, come on over here. We
Oh yeah, definitely.
we're
Yep.
having fun over here.
We're a peaceful environment here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're trying to
Yep.
be a
Exactly.
peaceful
We're
environment about the
basically
wrestlings.
we're basically the wrestling community Switzerland.
Well, yeah, we're trying to just be like that lunch table that you
Right.
sit at
Yep.
that everybody's
Exactly.
talking wrestling. It's like, oh yeah,
Oh
come pull
yeah.
up a chair. Let's talk about
Or,
Monday
or,
Night
or,
Raw.
or let's talk.
Yeah,
Or let's
we
talk
really
about
want to
Dynamite.
recapture that feeling. Like, yeah, like there's this feeling, and like my millennials, my
Mm-hmm.
Gen X, y'all will understand this when I say it. When you would watch Monday Night Raw and you would go to bed and you couldn't wait to
Yup.
go to school the next day
Yup.
to talk to your friends about what happened.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to
Exactly.
recreate here.
Yep. Yep. And
That's that feeling we're
I
trying to
definitely had
recapture.
that feeling because I had my friends that I sat at the lunch table with, and granted I was kind of like part of the skater alternative kids. That's the table I pretty much sat at, but we were also wrestling fans too, and we would talk about
Yeah.
wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Well, all
we
right,
have
Matt. We've said a lot.
almost 2 hours worth. Holy cow!
Yeah, we've got 9 more minutes
Yep.
until we hit 2 hours of recording. I'm sure this episode will be much smaller than that once I edit it and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
we've talked for 2 hours straight. And
All
so I
right,
think it's
there.
time for you to take us
So
home.
once again, I want to thank everybody who has tuned in to this long overdue episode of Wrestling Fluency. I know y'all been waiting for a hot minute, but me and Brandy were over here dealing with life, and we were just here to let you know we didn't forget about you. And with the holidays coming up, this is our Christmas gift to you. So, Merry Christmas, folks. Glad you tuned in. You
Mm-hmm.
could have been
That's
you could have been
right.
anywhere.
I'm glad that we,
Yep, you
I'm
could have
glad that we
been
dropped it on
anywhere,
Christmas.
but you're here with us, and we're happy for that. We're extremely grateful.
Yes. And we leave you with the knowledge of please don't talk about poop on your first date. If you take nothing else away from this episode, take away not talking about colonoscopies and poop on your first date.
You're not feeling a person, please kindly tell them that you're not interested so that you don't waste their time. Please and thank you.
Just dump them.
a solid.
Never thought I'd be saying that, but
PSA
just
from
dump
the
them.
Alabama Slammer over here. Yep, just dump them.
Just dump. Yeah, don't leave any doors open. Just dump them.
That's not cool. As Carlito would say, that's not cool.
Clean break.
Matter of fact, that should be an Alabama Slammer shirt. Just dump.
And we will catch you
Peace.
next year.